everybody check that out. Connect with Ross. And Ross, thanks again for coming on the show.
Cool. Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
All right.
What was that?
Oh, I just knocked my keyboard over. All right, welcome to another episode of Seeds of Music, the web's #1 resource for independent artists. I'm your host, Kyle Williams, and this is our weekly web show where I bring on music industry professionals and successful independent artists to talk about the ways to build a bigger, stronger fan base and earn more income from music. Now, real quick, we have the iTunes podcast version of the show. It's just an audio-only version of what is normally video hosted on YouTube. You can go there, punch in Seeds of Music, Rise Above the Noise, click subscribe, and you'll get all the episodes downloaded straight to your mobile device. And before you leave that, please leave a rating and review. This will help improve our ranking in iTunes, give the show more exposure, will help more artists, and get bigger, better interviews on the show. Plus, I'll give you a shout out in the next episode just to say thanks for doing that. On today's episode, we have Ross Barber, and Ross builds kick-ass websites for musicians. And we're going to talk about his 7 tips for building a website that your fans will love, because let's be honest, really good website design is crucial for any independent artist to really stand out amongst all the noise. So you've got those artists out there who don't have a website and just have a Facebook page, or maybe they have a website and it's kind of pre-made and looks like everything else. So they're not really going to jump out to those fans and really encourage those fans to connect with them and be hardcore for them. Be hardcore fans. Got to have that good web design. So let's jump right in. All right, Ross, thanks for coming on to the Seeds of Music web show. We're going to talk about websites today. That was my fist. For those listening to the podcast, that was me pounding my fist together, by the way. Because I'm pumped for this. So how you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Very awesome here. If you guys hear a slight buzz, that's the fan blowing on my back because it's pretty hot. So I got all the windows shut here to make sure everything's quiet for us to have this awesome conversation. But, Ross, what I like about what you do is you build kick-ass websites specifically for musicians, and it's all based on WordPress, and I'm a big WordPress fan too. I wanted the first question before we get into these 7 different points, tips for building a website that fans will love. I wanted to ask you, how important is good website design if you're a musician?
I think it's one of the most important things that you can have. Like, I would say good music is going to be your first.
Yep.
And I would say, I mean, that gets overlooked sometimes, but
it gets overlooked a lot, I think.
Yeah. And but I would say your website, it should be like the center of your online world. So you've got your social media platforms, and that's great, but everything should link back to your website. So your website has to be like good, because if you're going to send people there,
yeah,
you want it to represent you accurately and just show you in the best light possible. Because how many musicians are there out there? You want to stand out amongst the crowd.
There are 2,001,000. I don't know how many. There's quite a bit though.
There's a lot. I mean, you're probably not far off. But I mean, yeah, you've got to give yourself the best shot that you can.
Mm-hmm.
And anything that's going to put you, show you in a good light, you need to do it.
Mm-hmm. And
your website is going to be one of the big things that you can do. So I think it's definitely worth investing in, creating a good website that's going to help you in, so many ways.
What you're telling me is I can't just have a Facebook page that I don't post to at all? I can't just use that?
You can, but you're not going to get any results with that. So
okay.
No. You're not going to do
I'm all about not getting results, so I think I'll just stick with
Well, then you're going the right way.
Oh, yeah, I gotcha. I'm going the correct way if that's what I want.
The argument, I would say, is like people that rely on one social network.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just remember MySpace. Now, I know a lot of artists who relied on MySpace as their website. Mm-hmm. And I think that was kind of the normal thing to do. Like when MySpace was around, it was just what everyone had and everyone relied on it. And then
Did you use MySpace back in the day?
I did use MySpace. Yeah, I was somewhat of a MySpace celebrity in my town, which is bizarre.
Back in my day,
anyone that lived in like a small town, I guess, that had MySpace ended up kind of. It was weird.
Yeah.
And yeah, like everyone had a MySpace, and then when MySpace disappeared, all these people had no way of keeping in touch with their fans.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of them a long time to build up a similar kind of fan base on Facebook or any other social platform. And
Hmm.
most of them still haven't reached the same kind of heights that they were at on MySpace. I bet a lot of bands probably broke up because of it. Like they
Yeah.
felt they put so much work in, and now they had nothing to show for it essentially. And yeah, I see so many bands doing that with Facebook and other platforms, and
Yeah.
they're using that as their website. You've got no control over that, and at some point, it's maybe unlikely, but it could happen that they're just going to close down, or they're going to
Yeah.
start charging you, you know, for even having a page, let alone reaching your fans. They might start charging.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah.
No one knows for sure what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Even Facebook themselves probably don't know
Yeah.
for sure what's going to happen. So,
Yeah.
the only way that you can protect yourself from that is to have your own website and be collecting email addresses
Hmm.
so that you can contact your fans directly. So, if these social platforms disappear, you don't have to go into a panic. You can still reach the people that want to be reached.
Yeah. So it seems like
That's the important thing.
what's most important is to have that website, because the website's not going away. I mean, unless like your GoDaddy headquarters gets blown up. I don't know. But which
Let's
is
not wish that on anyone.
highly unlikely. So you own the website. That's not going away. No one could come in and say, "Oh, you got to start paying beyond just like $8 a month or whatever it is for the hosting." And like a blog authoring software, like the actual software, like WordPress itself, is free. So it's super low cost. So all you really need is that website and that email list to be collecting those emails. Because I noticed you mentioned that too, and I'm a huge proponent of the email list, because it's just like a website. You own it. You own those emails. Yes, someone can maybe change emails every couple of years, but when someone gets on your email list as a fan, they do because they want to hear from you. So it's highly likely that they're interested in your music, and you can keep that up. But so Ross, do independent artists have to be rich in order to have an awesome web design?
No, I
I
mean,
mean, Donald Trump rich?
no, I mean, I don't know any independent artist or any artist really who's Donald Trump.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Or
No,
with the
I
hair.
think, no, yeah, don't do that. I think it's a misconception. I think that a lot of artists have, is that a custom website is going to be like really expensive.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, there are designers who will charge a lot of money. And I know that major labels will spend a lot of money on a website, and it's just not necessary to spend an absolute fortune on a website.
Yeah.
What I will say is that you should think of it more as an investment
Mhm.
than anything else. So you're investing in your career, you're investing in your online presence, you are giving yourself a level of professionalism that 9 out of 10 independent artists don't have. So
Oh,
you're
yeah.
instantly
Oh, yeah.
giving yourself like you're like a step ahead or 5 steps ahead of the other independent artists that
Yeah.
that are around.
Yeah.
And if a fan goes to your website and it looks terrible, what kind of impression does that give?
Yeah.
It doesn't give a good impression.
Yeah.
And they might leave before they even listen to your music, or before they go and check out your merch section.
Oh, yeah,
or
they
find
will.
out when you're playing. And
Yeah.
ultimately, what you want from your website is you want to convert that visitor into a fan if they're not already one, or if they are a fan, you want them to buy something from you. You want them to see when you're next playing in their town, so that they'll go to your gig. So ultimately, it's maybe not a very nice way to think about it, but
Yeah.
you want to make money from your website because you are a business.
Yeah.
Even
Well, you
though,
want to make more music here. Yeah, it goes back to the whole the perception. If you have a super negative perception of making money with music, then you're screwed from the get go. So don't get a
Yeah.
website. Don't be try to make a music career because you're shooting yourself in the foot. But I just wanted to throw this out there to anyone that's listening. What Ross is talking about, like a fan comes to your website and if it has bad design, they're going to turn around and leave. In web marketing speak, that's called bounce rate, which means the fan comes to, or anyone comes to a page on a website and hits the back button or closes out that window without actually interacting with the page by clicking on a link or doing whatever. And having a high bounce rate, which is in a percentage, is very, very bad. And there's been a ton of research that's proven that bad web design increases bounce rate. So if you have bad web design or really boring, bland, or not unique, when that fan lands on your website, they're more likely to turn right back around and leave. And you just miss the chance to have them learn more about you by reading on your bio page. And most importantly, you miss the chance to get an email sign up with them so you can stay in contact with that fan. So design is extremely important. It's like one of the first things when you are ready to actually invest some money into your music career. That's the first thing I would look at, because I know as a huge music enthusiast, when I Google, if I hear about an artist or I go see an artist and I go Google their name and they don't have a website come up, and then I just see Facebook and LinkedIn or whatever, I usually think they're not that serious. And also, there's no way for me to take that relationship any further except for maybe following on their social media. But I tell you what, when I go look at their social medias, they're not doing anything. They're usually not doing it. It's kind of a telltale sign that they're probably, their last Facebook, post was a million years ago, and their tweets or
just buy my stuff,
are linked straight to Reverb Nation. And I'm playing a show. So guys, the point is it's web design. Having good web design on your band website is worth every single penny, and you don't have to be a Donald Trump with a bad toupee to afford that. So I'm just curious, you use WordPress as the basic platform for these websites, and you're doing all the design for them, but it is on WordPress. What do you feel like is the biggest advantage that WordPress has over other website platforms?
I find that WordPress is probably one of the easiest to use. I have used other platforms before, like other content management systems like Joomla and Drupal, and I've just found that they're overcomplicated, especially for people that don't know how to use these kind of things. Whereas WordPress is a lot easier to get into. Like, there is a learning curve. There's going to be a learning curve with anything, but the learning curve with WordPress is it's much easier. And what I do for my clients is I always write a custom user guide for every site that I do, with like step-by-step instructions as to how to do everything. So if you need to add a new blog post, you follow these 3 steps and that's your blog post added. So and WordPress, because it's easy to use, it makes it easy for me to do that. The other thing that I really love about WordPress is the number of plugins or add-ons that you can have for your site. So if you want to have your Twitter feed embedded on your page, WordPress makes that simple in like 3 clicks. Or if you want to have your Instagram pictures embedded, 3 clicks, it's done. Like, there are more advanced options if you want to make it look nicer, but
you don't have to use it.
You don't have to use them.
Awesome.
I would always recommend using them, but if you want to keep it simple, a few clicks and you're done. Just it's so easy, and I just love WordPress for those reasons.
Me too. I love WordPress. So I wanted to jump into these 7 points, tips for building a website that kicks butt. In the first one, we talked about this before when we were brainstorming this list. Simple navigation. Okay, why is that important?
Well, simple navigation, it just makes it easy for people to find what they want. Because, like we were saying, with people visiting your site and then leaving, if people can't find what they want, they're going to leave as well. So you need to help people. People don't have a lot of time. People don't have, much of an attention span anymore. So, if you don't catch them within the first 5 seconds, they're gone.
And by the way, if you guys don't know, navigation means, like, at the top, blog, contact, store, all those links that take you to the different pages in the website. What would be like the maximum amount of those navigation links, do you think? Is how much is too much?
Ooh. Tough question. It's a difficult one, because I think for some artists it can work to have quite a lot, but generally speaking, I would say you probably don't want to have more than 5 or 6.
Okay.
Because giving people too much choice is a bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
And again, if people feel like overwhelmed or confused, they're probably going to
Okay.
leave as well. Like they're maybe not as likely to leave as they were if your website just looks like someone vomited up on the page.
Yeah.
But like, it's not going to do you any favors if if there's too much to choose from. So yeah, try and keep it simple. Keep it
What's
down
the
to 5 or
bare
6.
what's the bare minimum? Like, we talking the contact form, about page? Like, what would you say would be the bare, like the bare essentials for navigation?
It again depends on the artist, but I would say it's important that you always have a way for people to contact you. 'Cause if
Which is
someone
point
writes
3.
you
We'll get to that.
oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
Let's just we'll go back to that. The most essential ones, yeah, I would say about is definitely important.
Mm-hmm.
You want people to be able to find out more about your story and
Mm-hmm.
more about your background. A way for people to hear your music, so
Okay.
having a dedicated music page is good.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have that music page, give people a way to buy the music as well. Don't just have it there streaming. Have it there streaming, but also link out to where they can buy it, whether that's directly from you or
Yeah.
whether it's from like Bandcamp or iTunes, whatever. You make it easy for people. Don't make them search for it after they've heard it. Give them that button to click that takes them there. People are lazy. People are really lazy.
Yeah.
So like make it easy. I would say have a way for people to see where your upcoming shows are.
Okay.
You want to make that as readily available as possible. And those would be the main ones, I would say.
Yeah.
Definitely about contact, shows, and music.
Yeah. So they
Probably
can
good.
learn about you, hear about you, contact you, and see you at your next show.
Yeah.
So just having those and buy stuff.
Yeah.
So you got
Buy
five
stuff.
right there. So in the second one, we kind of touched on this earlier, is the second tip for building the website that you need to have in place is unique design. I think that if you can't, if as a musician though, if you can't have a custom built website, then it's better to have a website than no website at all. But you cannot have the best advantage if your website is unique in some way and represents the artist, because we talked about this before. There's a ton of artists and you want to stand out in any way, shape, or possible, and having that unique design custom made for you and your personality is important. Number 3, way of contact form, we already hit that up there. That was a way to kill 2 birds. I didn't plan that, by the way, but that's awesome.
It was nicely done.
Nicely done. Sometimes things work out. Number 4, social media integration. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we sort of mentioned it a little bit with the WordPress plugins. But yeah, a way for people to easily see what's going on with you on social media, because you're probably going to be updating your social media more often than you update your website. So whether that's Facebook or if it's Twitter or if it's Instagram, whatever you use, you want to have that on your website so people can see that you're still active. Because one thing that's really bad is if you go to someone's website and they've not updated the website in a long time and there's no social media, so you don't know if this band are still together, you don't know if they're still playing or anything. So integrating the social media means that if you fall behind on writing blog posts or something like that, then at least you've got the social media there to fall back on,
and
to show that you are still there.
And where on the website would these social media icons go?
It depends on the design that you go for, but generally I would include them in to one side. So you generally, most sites seem to have 2 columns. So you'd have the main content in one column, and another column you would have your mailing list sign up, and you'd have your.
Oh, you're talking about the sidebar?
Yeah, I would include it in the sidebar. I didn't want to use the word sidebar.
It's okay.
It's okay. But yeah,
on the side, basically.
I would have it on the side.
I've seen some on the top too.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, I would have your social media. Fall off my chair. I would have my social media links probably at the top.
Yeah.
But I would have the actual feeds integrated probably in the sidebar or below the main content, depending on how the design works. So a lot of that's going to be led by the photography and and all that.
But either way, don't hide it, don't bury it. Have it up front where everyone can see that. Number 5 here, exclusive content. What does that mean? What is content here?
So content is not scary. It's I think musicians get scared by the word content, because they think that it's going to involve them, having to learn like tons of new skills. It's not. Content is basically what you're providing anyway.
Yeah.
So your content is your music, it's your photos, it's your videos, it's your blog posts, anything like that is content.
Yeah.
So when I say exclusive content, I mean give people something that they can't get anywhere else, and give them a reason to be visiting your website and to come back to your website. And if possible, give that content out in exchange for their email address,
which I would recommend number 1 there for sure.
And a lot of like this sometimes happens when I'm working with a new client, and I'll say, okay, you need to have your mailing list.
Yeah.
And it's a good idea to give something out in exchange. And they're like, oh, well, I don't want to give my music away for free. And it's like, well, you don't have to give, the song that you were going to release as a single away for free. Give away like a live version of the track, or an acoustic version of the track, or a demo, or something that you maybe weren't planning on selling.
A video of you brushing your teeth. Just
you
try it.
You never know, it could be huge. But I would suggest, give something away that you maybe weren't planning on selling, or give away maybe your old EP, or put together a little bundle of live tracks. Be creative. Do whatever you think that your fans or potential fans are going to like.
They're gonna like to hear about you and hear your story, learn more about you. So
yeah. And brushing your teeth's a great way to get to know someone. So yeah.
or singing one of your songs while trying to gargle mouthwash. It's entertaining. It's entertaining. It might not be your style, but you gotta just think outside the box like that.
I know.
There's definitely something special that each artist has to offer, because each artist has a unique life and story and things that happen to them, and you can use that as like a way you can put that into your website, like whether blog posts or an email incentive. Say, hey, get this free track and learn more about how I was almost killed by carbon monoxide outside a gig in the van because I got locked in it, or whatever. I've heard crazy stories like that. I've heard crazy stories like that from different artists. So now number 6 is my favorite here. Okay, this is actually something you shouldn't do. The music autoplay. What are your thoughts on that?
Where to begin? It's just really annoying. For example, just put yourself in the position of someone that's visiting your website, right? You're browsing the internet, you're listening to music or a podcast, you're maybe watching this video, and then you open up a website and music starts playing, but you've already opened like 20 different windows.
You're like, where's it coming from?
Browse nowadays.
Yeah.
And you don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
So in a panic, you close all of your windows. Do you remember whose site you were on? No. Are you going to go back to it? No.
I tell you what I do. I angrily hunt for it. I go through each tab and I'm like, I'm going to find that thing and I'm going to shut it. But it's even worse. It's even worse with the autoplay ads. But you hear the music behind the ad, and you're trying to pay attention to something else. Because that's a great point. A lot of artists don't realize that their fans, or potential fans, have tons of other things that are vying for their attention. Okay, they're distracted, so you can't. But beating them over the head doesn't necessarily work.
No, it normally does more harm than good. It's not going to help you out. So just when YouTube gives you that option to autoplay your video, just untick that box.
Yeah,
just untick it.
Don't do that. Don't auto.
We'll be friends. We'll be friends if you untick that. And if you don't have autoplay, then we can be friends. But if you do have autoplay, then we're going to have a problem.
True. All right, so that's no autoplay, guys. End of story. Number 7. I actually added this one on here to anyone listening. Ross had 6 points, and I asked him to add this 7th one because I felt it was very important. We both agreed. No small fonts, guys, because people I can say for even my website, 40% of my traffic is on mobile, and a tiny 10 or 12 point font is hard to read on a mobile screen. So I personally use 14, and Ross, I think you said, how big are your fonts?
Well, it depends on the font, but
Oh
generally,
yeah, the font family is different size.
I'm kind of going with 16 or 18
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of them at the moment, just because I find that they're easier to read both on mobile and on like a larger screen as well. Like it can be having a small font on a larger screen. If you've got a really small font, there's going to look like so much stuff,
Yeah.
and it's kind of intimidating
Yeah.
to see so much text. So I like to have a larger font, and I also like to have like a little bit of letter spacing
Mm-hmm.
and some nice line spacing as well,
Mm-hmm.
so that it's all kind of spread out, and it just looks so much better.
Okay.
Yeah,
But you
I
just
kind of
get.
geek out about that. Like
I know you're like,
I
I
really
like to
enjoy
have
it.
line
One of the
spacing,
first
and
things
then
I do when I'm putting the design together, I'm like, right, line height, letter spacing. I'm like, oh wait, yeah, we'll increase that by two pixels. Oh, we'll do that by two more, and then that's right. Yeah, that's how.
Yeah, there you
that's
go.
the one.
You're like, yeah.
So yeah, Confessions of a Web Designer.
Okay.
I should write a book.
You're
Right.
you're
Next
passionate
time.
about it, man. You're passionate
Yeah, I
about
enjoy it.
the fonts and readability. Because
readability is that's gonna be chapter 2.
yeah. So you see, like all the design starts to come together once you have all the elements in place, and that's got to be really, really satisfying to see the overall effects. But no small fonts, guys, because if someone even takes a look at it and it looks like it's hard to read, they have to squint. They're gonna bounce rate. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. I mentioned it before. They're gonna bounce right out without doing anything. I know I will if you use a 10-point font, but just exercise common sense, because like Ross said, different fonts are actually different sizes too. So it's not like every font at 12 points is the same exact size. It's not necessarily true. That about wraps up these 7 points here. Building a website that kicks butt and makes your fans think you're awesome and want to connect with you. You got to have it if you want to be super, super serious about what you're doing with music and have that web presence. It's essential nowadays for every independent artist. And I want to thank you, Ross, for coming on the show. I want to ask you, usually I ask a fun question at the end, but then I'm going to try this other question that I'm experimenting with. I'm just curious, like, what does your morning routine look like? Because I'm curious about how different people get productive, when they start the day. I'm not saying you get up at 6 a.m. or whatever, but I'm just curious, like, how do you get pumped for getting shit done?
Oh, good question. I'd actually prepared for your other question because, like, I didn't prepare for your other question. I've watched like so many of your videos that I know the question that you normally ask.
Aha,
and I one of the questions that you normally ask, and now you tricked me. And it's funny because I listen to a lot of podcasts, like a lot of entrepreneur podcasts and stuff. And
do you listen
and
to Tim Ferriss Show?
I've listened to one episode. I only just discovered his very recently, actually.
That's the only one I'm listening to right now. It's a lot of fun.
Well, podcast is kind of one of the things that it would be part of my morning routine. I get up and normally I make myself either a cup of tea or coffee, depending how I feel on the day.
Yeah.
And I'll come in. I'll do the long commute, which is like 5 steps to work in my home office.
Yeah.
So yeah, then I'll come in and I'll normally put on a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment, Entrepreneur on Fire.
Entrepreneur on Fire? Yeah.
Yeah,
awesome.
Entrepreneur on Fire.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm finding that it kind of gets me motivated for the day.
Yeah.
I really like hearing what other people do and what works for them. So yeah, I listen to that, and normally I'll check my social media, and I'll either check my email, or if I'm really excited about something particular that I'm working on, I'll go ahead and just dive right in. Which is probably the opposite from what a lot of people do. I hear a lot of people like do like meditation and and stuff like that.
Yeah.
No, I just get straight down to business. I get up and I just start working. So yeah, it's
you don't eat?
No.
Oh,
No,
man.
I can't eat in the morning, and sometimes I find that I wake up like really, really early. I'll wake up at like 5 or half 5 in the morning, and I'll just get up and I'll be like, yeah, I want to work, and I'll just go straight.
Yeah,
to
yeah. It's like
work.
it's like you're on like you wake up and you feel like you're on crack. You're like, I gotta work right away.
It just it depends on what I'm working on. Like if
Yeah.
I'm working on a project that I'm really excited about, I'll wake up thinking about it, and I'll be like, yeah, I can't wait to do more of that. So I try not to get into my email straight away, because that's when it becomes like reacting to stuff rather than kind of.
Oh yeah, that's a great point. Anyone listening, don't check email first thing in the morning. I don't do it either, and that's actually one of the things that Tim talks about on one of the podcast episodes, and I've heard him talk about before, is that's like the mind suck. Like when you check email in the morning.
It really is.
Screw that, man.
It's a difficult habit, and one thing I've done lately as well, I've downloaded an extension for Chrome that limits my Facebook time to 20 minutes per day. And if I reach that 20 minutes, it comes up with a message asking me if I should be working, and the answer is yes. So I should work. So I've done that. I've removed Facebook from my phone. Too many distractions. So I find that like limiting the number of distractions has actually really helped.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to check my email so much. I'm trying to, not get sucked into it, because once you get sucked in, it's hard to get back out.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, entrepreneurs, musicians, artists, the ones that will be able to take control of distraction and to cultivate focus, man, they're gonna get ahead. They're gonna be like, they're gonna get way ahead, because even you can have like you can get more done in a few hours than some people take weeks to do, or even months. It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm like so interested in that stuff. But Ross, thank you. Sorry, I switched the question up. I know you thought I was going to ask you what your favorite album was. All right, well, Ross, thanks, man. This has been awesome. Thanks for coming on to your computer screen and interacting and sharing all this awesome information about your web designs. Your web designs are kick-ass. And I suggest anyone who's listening to this to check out your links below. We got you linked up. Connect with him. Check out his testimonials. And you also have examples of the sites that you've done for artists already, and you have an email list too to get some tips, web design tips. You got the email sign up form on the front page, bottom right. So everybody check that out. Connect with Ross, and Ross, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
All right. And that wraps up this week's episode of Seeds of Music. On the show today, we had Ross Barber, website designer extraordinaire for musicians. Make sure to check out his link below and check out his services, because like we said before many times, having great web design is essential to having a great career as a musician. Now, next, sign up for our email newsletter. You'll get updates on new interviews, vlog episodes, articles, plus special newsletter content to help you have a bigger fan base and sell more music online. And once again, subscribe to our podcast, and plus share this on all of your social media platforms. Like it on Facebook, share it on Facebook, tweet it on Twitter, comment on the video. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Did you learn something of value from this interview? Is there maybe some other subject you want covered? Do you know someone who should be on this show? Or is that person you? Just send me an email to kyle.seedsmusic@gmail.com. I have an open door email policy. My record is no more than 2 days to respond back to your email. And any longer than that, then I probably got hit by a car or something. Not to be morbid. Remember, we are the future of music. All right.